A boy is on his knees in a wooden shed. Dust in the air. Late afternoon, light through a single window. 15 bicycles are lined up against the wall in front of him, smallest to largest, each one with a hand-carved wooden tag tied to the handlebars. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 18. The boy is crying. Not the way men cry on television, the way a child cries when he has been hungry for too long and someone finally hands him a plate. A grandfather he never met has bought him a bicycle every year of his life, and every single one is still here, waiting. The boy did not know any of this 6 days ago. 6 days ago. His stepfather handed him a garbage bag and told him to pack. The day after Caleb Whitlock turned 18, his stepfather handed him a garbage bag and told him to pack. Not a suitcase. A black contractor bag. The kind you fill with leaves in October. It landed on his bed at 7 in the morning. Vance stood in the doorway, arms folded, coffee in one hand, like a man who had rehearsed this moment in front of a mirror. Clothes only, leave the furniture, the bed stays. Caleb sat up slow. The room was small. 11 years he had slept in it, 11 years of school posters, of a desk with a wobbly leg he had fixed himself when he was 12, of a window that looked out over a fence he had painted twice. None of it was his anymore. Noon, Vance said. I want you out by noon. Then he walked away. Caleb stared at the doorway. His chest was tight, not from surprise, from the opposite of surprise, because he had known this was coming for months, maybe for years. Vance had been counting down to this birthday the way some men counted down to retirement. He had never used Caleb's name if he could help it. It was always the boy, or he, or your son said to Adeline. Like Caleb was a problem she had brought into the house. Caleb got dressed, slow. He folded 2 pairs of jeans, 3 shirts, underwear, socks, a hoodie that still smelled like rain from a week ago. He picked up the photograph from his nightstand. A young man in a flannel shirt, 21 years old, holding a baby wrapped in a yellow blanket. On the back, written in pencil, Theo and Caleb, first week home, his father, dead before Caleb's 4th birthday. He slid the photograph into the inside pocket of his hoodie, the one place where it would not bend. That was the last thing he packed. He carried the bag downstairs, 1 floor, 12 steps. Each one felt longer than the last. The kitchen smelled like burnt toast. His mother was at the sink, Adeline Whitlock Holloway, 42 years old, wearing the same blue cardigan she wore every morning, washing a pan. The pan was already clean. Her hands moved in slow circles. Around and around, the water ran. She did not turn it off. Mom, she did not look up. Mom, please. The water kept running. He set the bag down on the linoleum. The sound of it hitting the floor was small, too small for what it meant. Mom, look at me. She turned off the water. Slow. She dried her hands on a dish towel, folded it, set it on the counter, picked it up, folded it again. Then she turned around. Her eyes met his. For 1 second, maybe less. Then she looked at the floor. You're an adult now, Caleb. I'm 18. That's what adult means. I have $31. You have a job, part-time, 12 hours a week. She did not answer. Her mouth was a thin line, pressed flat. Her eyes were red at the edges, but her voice was empty. What he saw in her face was not cruelty. It was something worse. It was relief, like a woman who had been holding her breath for a very long time and was finally allowed to let it out. He picked up the bag. Then he heard the footsteps on the stairs. Small footsteps, fast. Wesley, his half-brother, 10 years old, hair sticking up in the back where the pillow had pressed it flat, wearing pajamas with little dinosaurs on them. Wesley stopped at the bottom of the stairs, looked at the bag, looked at his mother, looked at Caleb. His face crumpled. Where are you going? Caleb set the bag down again. Wes, come here. The boy ran across the kitchen and threw his arms around Caleb's waist. Hard, like he was trying to anchor him to the floor. Don't go. Don't go. Don't go. Buddy, don't go, Caleb. Please don't go. Caleb knelt down, put his hands on his brother's shoulders, made him look up. Listen to me. Wesley was crying, snot on his face. The kind of crying a 10-year-old does when nobody has taught him to hide it yet. I'm going somewhere for a little while. I don't know where, but I will figure it out. Take me with you. Caleb's throat closed. I can't. Not yet. Why not? Because I have $31. Because I am sleeping in a car tonight. Because you are 10 years old, and I am 18, and I cannot keep you safe yet. He did not say any of that. He said, because I have to find us a place first. Wesley's eyes got huge. Us? Us. You'll come back for me? I promise. You promise? I promise. Wesley wiped his face on the sleeve of his pajamas. The dinosaurs. Caleb pulled him into a hug, held him too long. His brother's hair smelled like cheap shampoo and sleep. From the corner of his eye, Caleb saw his mother turn back to the sink. She turned the water on again. He stood up, picked up the bag, walked to the front door. He did not look back. The Honda was a 2003 Civic. He had bought it for $700 with money from bagging groceries. The check engine light had been on for 4 months. The passenger window did not close all the way. There was a gap at the top that let in rain, and cold, and the sound of every truck that passed him on the highway. He threw the bag in the back seat, sat behind the wheel. His hands were shaking. He turned the key. The first night, he parked behind a 24-hour pharmacy at the edge of town, pushed the driver's seat back as far as it would go, used his hoodie as a pillow, pulled his jacket over his chest. He woke up 4 times, once to a delivery truck idling 2 spots over, once to footsteps near the dumpster, once to nothing at all, just his own heart pounding. The 4th time, he didn't bother trying to sleep again. He sat up, watched the sky go gray, watched a man in an apron walk out of the back door of the pharmacy and dump a trash bag in the bin and walk back inside without seeing him. Caleb felt invisible. It was the first time in his life he had ever felt that way. The second day, he drove to a gas station, put in $9 of gas, bought a cheeseburger from the warming case for $1, ate it in the parking lot, sitting on the hood of the car. Watching the sun come up over a Wendy's sign, he scrolled through job listings on his phone until the battery hit 14%. He plugged it into the car charger. The cord only worked if he held it at a certain angle, so he held it with one hand and scrolled with the other. Nobody was hiring, or maybe everyone was hiring, but nobody was hiring someone with no address, no references, no way to shower before an interview. He thought about Wesley at school, sitting at the kitchen table doing homework, asking Adeline where Caleb was, Adeline not answering, Vance answering. Caleb's stomach turned. The 3rd night, he tried a Walmart. He had heard you could sleep at a Walmart, that nobody bothered you. He parked at the far end of the lot, under a busted light. At 2 in the morning, someone knocked on his window. He flinched so hard he hit his head on the ceiling. It was an old man, maybe 70. Long beard, white, going yellow at the edges, a faded blue cap, a trucker's jacket. He stood at the driver's side window, hands held up where Caleb could see them. Ici, son, ici. Caleb rolled the window down 2 inches. You all right in there? I'm fine. You don't look fine. I'm fine. The old man looked at him for a long moment. Then he reached into his jacket. Caleb tensed. The man pulled out a sandwich, wrapped in wax paper. Got an extra. Wife packs me too. I never eat the second one. He held it up to the window. Caleb did not move. Take it, son. It's just turkey. Slow, Caleb rolled the window down all the way. He took the sandwich. His fingers were cold. The sandwich was still a little warm from the man's jacket. And listen. The trucker leaned closer. Voice low. Keep your keys in your pocket when you sleep. Not in the ignition, not on the dash, in your pocket. People watch lots, son. They watch a long time before they do anything. Caleb nodded. You got people? He didn't know how to answer that. I'm working on it, he said. The trucker nodded. Slow, like that was an acceptable answer. All right. He walked off across the parking lot. Caleb watched him in the side mirror. The man climbed into the cab of a big rig 3 rows over. The lights came on. The engine rumbled. The truck pulled out and was gone. Caleb sat in the dark with a sandwich on his lap. He did not cry. But it was close. He ate half the sandwich, saved the other half for breakfast. He moved the keys from the ignition to his pocket. He slept 4 hours straight. The 4th morning, his phone rang. He was sitting at a rest stop on the hood of the car, eating the second half of the turkey sandwich. The pine trees behind him smelled like winter even though it was almost spring. The number was unknown. He almost did not pick up. He picked up, "Hello? Is this Caleb Whitlock?" "Yes." "My name is Owen Driscoll. I'm an attorney with Driscoll and Hartley in Cedar Ridge, Pennsylvania. I'm calling regarding the estate of Silas Whitlock." Caleb's hand went still. "Who?" "Silas Whitlock. Your grandfather." The half sandwich slipped out of his fingers and fell on the hood of the car. "My grandfather died before I was born." There was a pause on the line, a long one. "Mr. Whitlock, I'm not sure where you got that information, but your grandfather passed away 6 months ago, October 11th. He was 74. He lived about 5 hours north of your listed address, and he named you as the sole beneficiary of his estate." Caleb could not speak. He looked at the pine trees. They were still. The wind had stopped. The whole world had stopped. "That's not... I have been trying to reach you for almost 6 months, Mr. Whitlock. The phone number your grandfather had on file was disconnected. The address on file appeared to be your mother's home. We sent 3 certified letters. They were all signed for... None were ever responded to. His mother had signed for them. His mother had read them. His mother had thrown them away." What Caleb cleared his throat. "What did he leave me? A property, a cabin. He built it himself. The land is paid in full. No liens, no outstanding taxes. He made sure of that. He also left other assets. But I'd prefer to discuss those in person." "Where?" "Cedar Ridge, about 5 hours north. I can give you the address." Caleb did not have a pen. He repeated the address out loud 3 times in his head until it was burned in. "Mr. Whitlock?" "Yes." "Your grandfather came to my office once a year for 15 years, every January. He updated his will each time. He always asked me the same question at the end of each visit." Caleb waited. He asked whether I had been able to find you. Caleb hung up. He sat on the hood of the Honda for 20 minutes. Did not move, did not blink, did not breathe right. 15 years. 15 years of a grandfather looking for him. 15 years of his mother saying he died before you were born. 15 years of a man living 5 hours away, asking a lawyer once a year if anyone had found his grandson yet. He thought about the photograph in his pocket. His father, 21 years old, holding a baby in a yellow blanket. His father had a father. His father had a father who had been alive the whole time. He drove to a used bookstore in the next town, sold 3 textbooks he had been carrying around since high school. The clerk gave him $22. He put the cash in his wallet, bought a granola bar, bought a bottle of water, bought a road map because his phone kept losing signal in the mountains and he did not trust it. Then he started driving north. The suburbs thinned out, strip malls turned into farmland, farmland turned into forest. The roads got narrower, the trees got taller. He passed a gas station with a hand-painted sign, a diner with 2 trucks in the lot, a stretch of road where his phone said no service, and stayed that way for 40 minutes. 5 hours. Then a sign, Cedar Ridge, population 812. The last digit had faded so bad he had to squint. He crossed a narrow bridge over a creek, Late winter melt running fast and clear underneath. Main Street was 1 block long. A hardware store, a diner, a church with a white steeple, a post office that looked like someone's garage, a general store with a wooden porch and a hand-painted sign that said Tate's. He parked in the only open spot. The lawyer's office was at the end of the street. Above a barber shop, Owen Driscoll's name was on a brass plaque next to the stairs. But the lights were off. It was almost 6. He would have to wait until morning. He sat in the car a long time, looking at the town, 12 buildings, maybe 15. He had no idea where he was going to sleep. He got out of the car, locked it, put the keys in his pocket. He walked to Tate's. A bell rang over the door when he pushed it open. The store was warm. It smelled like coffee and cardboard. There was a wood stove in the corner, a pot of stew on top of it. The woman behind the counter had gray hair pulled back in a loose braid, reading glasses pushed up on her forehead. She was stacking cans of tomatoes on a shelf behind the register. She looked up when the bell rang. She looked at Caleb. Her hands went still. The can in her left hand froze midair. She set the can down. Slow. She walked out from behind the counter. She stood in front of him, looked at his face, his eyes, his jaw, his hands. "You're Silas's grandson," she said. Caleb stopped breathing. "How?" "Because you look exactly like your father." She did not move to hug him. She did not get emotional. She just stood there, like she had been expecting this exact moment for a very long time. And now that it was happening, she was making sure she got every detail right. "I'm Rosalind Tate. I was your grandfather's neighbor for 21 years, his closest friend. Before that, I knew your father when he was just a boy." Caleb's eyes burned. He bit the inside of his cheek, hard, held himself together. "He talked about you every single day, sweetheart. For 15 years, Caleb was holding a bottle of water he had not paid for. He set it on the counter. His hands were shaking too hard to put it down properly. It tipped, rolled. He caught it. "When did you eat last?" she said. I had a granola bar at lunch." She walked to the back of the store. He heard her in the kitchen, the sound of a ladle, a bowl, a cabinet door. She came back with stew. In a thick ceramic bowl, a spoon, a piece of cornbread on a folded napkin. Sit." There was a small table by the window, 2 chairs. Maybe they were there for customers. Maybe they were there for exactly this. He sat. He ate. He had not realized how hungry he was. The first spoonful made his stomach cramp. The second one made his eyes water. He ate the whole bowl. Rosalind sat across from him, did not talk while he ate, just sat there, hands folded. When his bowl was empty, she said, "How much money do you have, sweetheart?" $23. She nodded, like that was the answer she had expected. Silas left money at this store every month. For 15 years, he said it was for when you came. He always said when, never if. She got up, walked behind the counter, pulled an envelope out of a drawer, thick, manila, sealed with masking tape. She set it on the table in front of him. "This is yours." He did not open it. He stared at it. $640. I never counted exactly, just kept adding. His hand closed around the envelope. "Rosalind." "Yes, sweetheart." "What was he like?" She sat down, looked out the window. The sky was going purple. "He was a carpenter. Built houses for 40 years. Built his cabin with his own hands. Every nail, every board, every joint. Sober the last 15 years. Drank hard before that. Lost your father. Lost his way for a while. Found it again. Why didn't he find me?" He tried. She looked at him. Her eyes were wet now. Lord, he tried everything. The courts, the lawyers, letters. He drove to your house once. Sat in the truck across the street for an hour. He was not allowed to come closer. He did not. She wiped her eye with the back of her wrist. When the law failed him, he decided if he could not bring you to him, he would make sure you had a place worth coming to. Caleb wrapped both hands around the empty stew bowl. "He built that cabin for you, sweetheart. Every board, he used to say he might come, they might come. By the end, he did not even know who just that someone of his blood might someday find their way to the porch. Rosalind stood up. You'll sleep here tonight, above the store. Clean sheets, bathroom down the hall. Tomorrow you'll go see Owen. He'll give you the key, and then you'll drive up that mountain and walk into your grandfather's house, which is now your house. She squeezed his shoulder once, light. You are where you are supposed to be. You hear me? He nodded. He could not say anything. The room above the store was small, a twin bed under a slanted ceiling. The sheets smelled like lavender. He slept 10 hours, did not wake up once. The next morning, he went to the lawyer's office. Owen Driscoll was a thin man with silver hair and tortoiseshell glasses. He had a file ready on his desk. Folders, a brass key on a leather cord. Your grandfather updated his will 15 times, always with the same instruction. If he can be found, he gets everything. He slid the key across the desk. The cabin is 2 miles up Old Mill Road. Take the left fork where the road splits. Mailbox with no name on it. Just a number. 11. Aleva. He never put his name on the mailbox. Habit. From when your mother was still trying to send him papers. Caleb took the key. It was heavy, warm in his palm. There's also this. Owen handed him an envelope, sealed, with Caleb's name on the front. In handwriting Caleb had not seen before, but already knew. He gave it to me a year before he died, told me to give it to you the day you walked in. He drove up Old Mill Road. The road went from pavement to gravel, from gravel to dirt. The trees closed in, the sky narrowed to a strip overhead. He found the mailbox, number 11. He turned in. The driveway was long, curving, hemlocks on both sides. He drove slow. He turned the last bend, and he saw it. The cabin sat at the end of the road, 1 story, stone chimney, covered porch all the way across the front, a railing that needed sanding but was still straight after 15 years. The roof was weathered but perfectly even. The door frame had something carved into the trim along the top, leaves, branches, a pattern. Caleb sat in the car a long time, hands on the wheel, engine off. Then he got out, walked up to the porch. His boots on the wood made a hollow sound. He put the brass key in the lock. It turned without a sound. The hinges did not creak. Somebody had been oiling them. The cabin smelled like cedar and dust. Small living room. Stone fireplace. A wooden chair beside it. A kitchen with a window over the sink. A bedroom. A bathroom. Everything built from the same warm-toned wood. Every shelf level. Every drawer fitted. Nothing sagging. Nothing creaking. A house built by a man who had nothing to do for 15 years except build it right. He walked through the room slow, ran his hand along the kitchen counter, smooth, sanded by hand. He could feel the careful work in it. He looked out the window over the sink. A backyard, tall grass, 1 enormous oak tree, and beyond it, a small wooden shed. He went outside, walked through the grass. The shed was the size of a 1-car garage. The door was held shut with a wooden latch, no lock. He opened it. He stepped inside, and he stopped. 15 bicycles lined up against the wall in a perfect row. The smallest was a tiny red tricycle, streamers on the handlebars, faded. Next to it, a slightly bigger one, then a slightly bigger one. He walked down the line. Each one had a small wooden tag tied to the handlebars, hand-carved, numbered, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. The last bike was the largest, a mountain bike, adult size, charcoal gray, still in its box, unopened, leaned against the wall. The wooden tag on its frame said, Sherba. Caleb dropped to his knees in the dust. Because his grandfather had bought him a bicycle every year of his life, even though he had never been allowed to give one, even though he had never seen him ride. Even though he had no idea, year to year, what size his grandson had grown into. He had guessed every spring and bought one and put it in the shed and waited until he ran out of years. Caleb sat in the dust of the shed with his head in his hands, and he cried, not quietly, not with dignity. He cried like a child who had just been handed 15 years of a love he never knew he had. He stayed in the shed a long time. The light shifted. The sun moved behind the oak. Eventually he got up, walked back to the cabin, sat on the living room floor, back against the wall, knees pulled up. He looked around. Cedar walls, stone fireplace, plain wood floor, no photographs anywhere, no frames, nothing personal on the walls, just wood and stone and light. His back was against the wall, and as he leaned there, his hand brushed something, a gap behind him, where the baseboard met the wall. Every other baseboard sat flush, tight, seamless. This one did not. There was a hairline gap, uniform, like it had been built to move. He turned around, got on his knees. He pressed one end of the baseboard. Nothing. He pressed the other end. The wood slid sideways, on hidden tracks, silent, smooth. Behind it was a compartment, cedar-lined, 8 inches deep, 2 feet wide. Inside were 3 sealed envelopes, white, each one labeled in neat, steady handwriting. Caleb, Ageshest, Caleb, Agesedim, Caleb, Ageosim. His hands were shaking. He picked up the first envelope. The light through the window was the color of honey. He slid his thumb under the seal. He opened it. The card was simple, a drawing of a birthday cake on the front. 3 candles, done in colored pencil, steady lines. He opened it. Happy birthday, Caleb. I hope this one reaches you. I sent the one I made for your 5th birthday to your mother's house. It came back. So did the one before it. I am keeping this one here instead. You are 6 years old today. I have never stopped thinking about you. Your father would be so proud of the boy you are becoming. Even though I have not been allowed to see it, I love you, son. Every day. Grandpa Silas. Caleb pressed the card against his chest. He did not move for a long time. Outside, the wind in the oak tree. Inside, just his breathing. Uneven. Catching. He opened the second one. A drawing of balloons on the front, cut from a magazine. Glued careful. The kind of careful a man does when he has nothing else to do but make this card right. Happy birthday, Caleb. You are 7 today. I drove past your mother's house last week. I parked across the street and sat in the truck for an hour. I could see your bedroom light on. I wanted to walk up and knock on the door. The court order will not let me go closer than the curb. So I sat in the truck and watched your light until it went off. Then I drove home and wrote you this card. I love you, son. Grandpa Silas. He opened the third one. Happy birthday, Caleb. You are 8. I filed a petition with the court last month for visitation rights. The judge denied it. Your mother's lawyer said I was an unfit influence. I have been sober for 2 years now, but the things I did before that still follow me around. I am going to keep trying. I will never stop trying. I love you, son. Grandpa Silas. 3 cards, 3 years of trying to reach a child who did not know he existed. He put the cards back in their envelopes, set them on the floor beside him. Then he stood up, because if there were 3, there were more. Silas Whitlock had been a carpenter for 40 years. He knew how to make things invisible. There would be more. Caleb walked the perimeter of the living room, pressed every baseboard, knocked on the walls, ran his fingertips along every seam. Nothing moved. He went to the kitchen. He almost missed it. The panel under the kitchen sink was one solid piece of wood, same grain as every other panel, but when he pressed his palm along the bottom edge, slight give, he pressed harder. The panel tilted forward on a hidden hinge, swung down. Inside were 6 more envelopes, each one labeled Caleb. Age, Devet, Deset, Jedenast, Dvanast, Trinast, Strnast. each one heavier than the last. He opened them on the kitchen floor, back against the cabinet. Ages 9 and 10, just cards. Age 11, money fell out. $80, 20s folded once. Age 12, 120. Age 13, 160. Age 14, 200. He stopped counting. His grandfather had sent him money every birthday. His mother had taken it every time. He read the card from age 12. Happy birthday, Caleb. I have stopped hiring lawyers. They cost too much and they never win. But I want you to know something. I have not stopped. I will never stop. I am building something for you. When you are old enough, you will find me, or I will find you. Grandpa Silas. Behind the envelopes, pushed all the way to the back, was something else. A small wooden box, the size of a paperback novel. He pulled it out. The wood was sanded so smooth it felt like skin. A tiny brass clasp on the front. He opened it. A music box mechanism. The metal comb, the cylinder, fitted into a hollow space. He turned the small brass key on the side. A lullaby started. He did not recognize the tune. It was slow, gentle. On the inside of the lid, 5 words were burned into the wood. I made this for you. Caleb closed his eyes. He let it play, all the way to the end. He wound it again, and he sat on the kitchen floor for a long, long time. A car pulled up outside. Rosalind, casserole dish in one hand, paper grocery bag in the other. She came inside. She looked at the open compartment under the sink, at the cards on the floor, at the music box. She nodded, slow. He told me he was doing something like that, never said exactly what. Said it was between him and you. She walked over, picked up the music box, held it in both hands like she was holding a sleeping bird. He worked on this for 2 years. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were not. They sat at the small table by the fireplace. He ate the casserole. She watched when his bowl was empty. Tell me about him, he said. What do you want to know? Start with my father. She folded her hands. Theo was 16 when I first met him. He came into my store with Silas. They were building somebody's deck up the road. Theo set a box of nails down on my counter, so easy, like it weighed nothing. He was already strong then. She smiled, a small one. He had your eyes, Caleb, exactly. The same. Caleb did not trust his voice. He just nodded. Theo and Silas, they were close. Closer than most fathers and sons. Silas raised him alone after Theo's mother left. What happened to her? She wasn't ready to be a mother. That was all Silas would say. So he raised my father by himself. Every day, every meal, every school night. Silas used to say a boy needs to see his father at the table or he won't know what a man is. And then he met my mother. She was a waitress 2 towns over. Theo went in one morning, came back to Silas that night and said, Dad, I met her. That's how he said it. Her. Like there was only one her in the world. And then I came along, and then you came along. Theo was 21, your mother was 22. They were so young. And then Rosalind took a breath. Silas's heart started giving him trouble. When you were 2, the doctor said he needed bypass surgery. The insurance was bad. The hospital wanted $14,000 up front. He didn't have it. He did not. And my father, Theo, took a job, big commercial construction, 60 miles south of here, high-rise apartment building. The pay was 3 times what residential work paid. He told Silas he could close the gap in 6 months. Silas told him no. Silas begged him. I was there for one of those conversations. He told Theo, I would rather die on my kitchen floor than have you up on a scaffold you don't trust. Caleb's hands were flat on the table, pressed down. Theo took the job anyway. He told Silas, you raised me by yourself. Let me take care of you for once. Rosalind's voice slowed. 3 weeks in, the scaffold gave way. Theo was on the 4th floor. He fell. He died at the hospital that night. He was 24 years old. Caleb closed his eyes. Silas blamed himself every day for the rest of his life. She reached across the table, put her hand over his. He started drinking. 2 solid years. Then one morning he showed up at my store at 6 a.m., sober, shaved, clean clothes, looked me in the eye and said I made a promise to my son. I intend to keep it. What promise? To take care of you. That night, Caleb lay on the floor of the bedroom. He used his duffel bag for a pillow, his jacket for a blanket. He stared at the ceiling. A house built by a man who blamed himself for his son's death. A house built so that the son's son would have something, anything. He fell asleep thinking about the bicycles. In the morning he made coffee, drank it standing at the kitchen window. Then he went back to searching. The bedroom panel was on the wall opposite the window. Same cedar as everything else, but when he pressed his palm flat against it, the wood gave, just a little. He worked his fingers around the edges, found the catch, a small wooden button, recessed into the trim at the bottom corner, painted the same color as the wood. He pressed it. The panel swung inward. This compartment was deeper than the others. Inside were 2 stacks of envelopes, tied together with kitchen string. He pulled them out, sat on the bedroom floor. The first stack was letters, plain white envelopes, each one addressed in Silas's handwriting, to Adeline Whitlock Holloway, each one stamped returned to sender in thick red ink. The stamp was a real post office stamp, but on top of each one there was also writing. In red marker, in handwriting, Caleb recognized his mother's return, not welcome. Stop sending. 15 letters, one for every year. He opened the first. Adeline, I am sober. 8 months now. I am asking you, please, let me see my grandson, Silas. The 5th. Adeline, I know you read these before you send them back. The envelopes are opened and resealed. You read them. Silas. The 8th. Adeline, I drove past your house yesterday. From across the street, I saw a boy walking up the driveway. He had a backpack. He looked exactly like Theo when he was a boy. I had to pull over. I could not see the road. Silas. The 12th. Adeline, I have stopped hiring lawyers. But I want you to know something. I have not stopped. I will never stop. I am building something for Caleb. When he is old enough, he will find me. Silas. The 15th. The most recent. Adeline, I am dying. My heart is going. The doctor says months. I am not writing to ask for anything anymore. I just want you to know Caleb has been loved every day of his life. By me, from 5 hours away. If he ever asks, tell him the truth. Silas. Caleb set the letters down on the floor. His mother had read every single one. She had read them, opened them, resealed them, sent them back for 15 years. She had known her father-in-law was dying, and she had not told him. The second stack was different. A single envelope, older, paper yellowed. The handwriting on the front was not Silas's. It was faster, less careful, younger. Addressed to Dad. He opened it. Dad, I know you don't want me taking this job. I know the sight is bad. I have heard you, but your surgery is in 6 weeks. The gap is $14,000, and I am not going to let you skip it again. You raised me by yourself after Mom left. You gave me everything you had, so let me do this. Once, I'll be careful. I always am. But if something happens, take care of Caleb for me. Take care of my little boy. Promise me, Dad. How? Caleb sat on the bedroom floor. He held his father's letter in both hands. He could not breathe. 1 week before he died, his father had written this letter. He stayed curled like that, shaking. He did not hear the car pull up, but at some point, Rosalind was there, sitting beside him on the floor. She did not touch him. She did not speak. They sat like that a long time. When he could talk again, he handed her the letter. She put on her glasses. Read it. Then she took her glasses off, pressed the bridge of her nose. He never showed me this, she said. It was in the wall the whole time. Caleb refolded the letter, slid it back into the envelope. Rosalind. Yes. I want to talk to someone who knew Silas. Someone besides you. I want to hear it from another voice. She looked at him a long moment. Then she nodded. There is somebody I should have told you the first night, but I was waiting. Waiting for what? For you to be ready. She stood up, drive me into town. They drove down the mountain, past the diner, past the church, out the other side, to a small house with a green tin roof at the end of a gravel lane. An old pickup truck was parked in the driveway. Faded green. Rosalind got out first, walked up to the porch. She knocked. The door opened. A man stood there, tall, lean, maybe 65. Silver hair pulled back, a face that looked carved from the same wood as the cabin. He saw Caleb. His face did something. "This is him," he said. Quiet. "This is him," Rosalind said. The man stepped out onto the porch, walked down the steps, stopped in front of Caleb. He looked at him a long time. "You look like your father." Caleb did not know what to say. The man held out his hand. "I'm Hollis Whitlock. I am Silas's brother. I am your great-uncle." Caleb's hand went to his mouth. He had a brother. He had a brother. Hollis's voice broke a little. "I should have come up the mountain a week ago, the day Rosalind called me and said you were here. But I was scared, son, of what you would think of me." "Why?" Hollis looked at the ground. "Because Silas and I did not speak for the last 12 years of his life." Caleb went still. "What happened?" "Theo." "What happened was Theo," Hollis sat down on the porch step, slow, like his knees hurt. "After Theo died, Silas drank. 2 years. He was bad off. I blamed him. I told him, you should have stopped him. I said it at the funeral. I said it again 6 months later. I said it the last time he and I were in the same room. 8 months after my nephew died, I told my brother to his face that Theo's death was his fault. He pressed a hand against his eyes. He believed me. That was the worst part. He already believed it, and I confirmed it for him, out loud." Caleb did not speak. "We stopped talking. 12 years. I lived an hour away. He lived alone in that cabin. We were the only family either of us had left, and we did not say one word to each other for 12 years. Rosalind sat down on the other side of him, put a hand on his back. "I called him last spring," Hollis said. I had a small stroke. Scared me. I called him from the hospital. He picked up on the second ring, like he had been sitting next to the phone the whole 12 years, waiting. He laughed, or tried to. He drove down that night, sat with me until I was discharged. Drove me home. Slept on my couch for 2 weeks. We didn't talk about anything important, just sat together. Drank coffee. Watched the birds on the feeder, and then he had to go home. He had work he wanted to finish on the cabin. I asked him what work. He looked at me. He said, "I'm building a place for Caleb. He'll find it someday." Hollis wiped his eye. That was the last conversation I had with my brother. 4 months later, he was gone. I did not get to say goodbye. I did not even know he was sick. He never told me. Rosalind told me after he died. He looked at Caleb. "I have spent 6 months hating myself for those 12 years. For every Christmas, I did not call. Every birthday, I did not send a card. Every Sunday, I did not show up at his door. I am 65 years old, and I have been crying like a child for 6 months because I missed my brother." Caleb sat down on the porch step. Beside this old man he had never met, who shared his blood. "He left you something," Hollis said. "He told me on the phone that night in the hospital. He left you the cabin, the money, everything. But he left me something, too." "What?" "A note. The lawyer gave it to me 4 months ago. After the will was read, Hollis pulled a worn envelope out of his jacket pocket, opened it, pulled out a single piece of yellow legal paper. He handed it to Caleb. Hollis, if you are reading this, the boy has come, or he has not. Either way, I am gone. I want you to know, the 12 years were not your fault. I let them happen too. I was too proud to call you back. You were too angry to come down. We were brothers. We failed each other. If Caleb is reading this beside you, that means he has come. That means everything I built is for someone. That means my whole life made sense in the end. Be a great uncle to him. Be the family I could not be. Teach him to fish. Tell him about Theo. Tell him about me. Tell him the good and the bad. Tell him I was proud of him every day. Even though I never met him, I was proud of him. Your brother, Silas. Caleb folded the letter slowly. He looked at Hollis. He waited for you the whole 12 years. I know. And you waited for him? Hollis's mouth shook. Yes. Then you didn't fail each other. You just took too long. The old man looked at him, tears running freely now, not hiding them. Where did you learn to talk like that, son? I don't know. That's your father in you, talking like that. They drove back to the cabin together, the three of them, Caleb, Rosalind, Hollis. Hollis stood in the living room, looked around. He had not been inside in 15 years. He ran his hand along the doorframe, the carved trim along the top, leaves and branches. He used to do this in the evenings, Hollis said. Sit on the porch with a chisel. Said it was the kind of work that didn't go anywhere if you didn't pay attention. He looked at Caleb. He talked about you every conversation we ever had after we made up last spring, every single one. He told me he had bought you a new bicycle that year. He told me he had buried 2 new envelopes in the wall. He told me he was tired, but he wanted 1 more year to finish the porch railing, to carve the 18 tag for the bike. Caleb looked out the window, at the oak tree. He finished it. That afternoon, while Hollis fixed himself a sandwich in the kitchen. Caleb went back to the living room. There were 2 more compartments to find. He knelt by the fireplace. The hearth was made of flat stones, fitted together without mortar. He ran his fingers along the edges, tight, tight, tight. 1 stone near the base sat slightly higher, by less than a quarter inch. He pressed it, nothing. He pressed and pushed sideways. It shifted. He worked the stone free. Underneath was a small brass handle set flush into the subfloor. He pulled. A section of floorboard lifted on hidden hinges. Inside was a thick manila envelope and a small wooden box. He pulled out the envelope first. Court documents. In the matter of visitation rights for Silas Whitlock, petitioner, regarding the minor child Caleb T. Whitlock. Silas had filed when Caleb was 6. He had attached character references, proof of sobriety, a letter from his AA sponsor. The response from Adeline's lawyer was 4 pages. It alleged Silas was an unfit influence, a history of alcohol abuse, unstable living conditions, and a sworn statement signed by Vance Holloway. Vance had testified under oath that Silas had shown up at the house drunk and made threats. Caleb read the line twice. He thought about Vance standing in his bedroom doorway with a garbage bag. Vance had lied under oath about a man he had never met to keep that man away from his stepson. The judge's ruling was 3 pages. The petition is denied. 1 word. That had shaped both their lives for 12 years. He opened the wooden box. Savings bonds, heavy paper, official seals, serial numbers, each one issued in the name of Caleb T. Whitlock, 15 of them, 1 purchased every year. At the bottom was a folded note in Silas's handwriting. Estimated worth, $52,000. Caleb stared at the number. Underneath the bonds, pushed flat against the bottom, was 1 more envelope, different from the others, yellow legal paper, the handwriting shakier. Silas had written this near the end. Dear Caleb, if you are reading this, then you found the cabin, and you found what I left for you. I hope you found it in order. Baseboards first, then the kitchen, then the bedroom, then the fireplace. That is how I built them, 1 compartment a year, until I ran out of wall space. I want to tell you why I hid everything in the walls instead of putting it in a bank. The answer is simple. She cannot steal what is hidden in the walls of a house she will never visit. The bonds are yours. The cabin is yours. Everything I built and saved for 15 years, I built and saved for you. You have your father's eyes, Caleb, Rosalind tells me, and you have his hands. I know that, even though I never got to see you hold a tool. Whatever your mother tells you about me, know this. I loved you when you were born and you grabbed my finger so tight I laughed out loud. I loved you when the court said no. I loved you when I was drinking and could not love myself. I loved you when I built this cabin and hid these letters in the walls, wherever I am now. I love you. Your grandfather, Silas. Caleb sat on the floor of the living room. He read the letter twice, then he put it down. He looked up. Hollis was standing in the doorway, sandwich forgotten on the kitchen counter, watching. He told me what he was doing, Hollis said. He never told me where. I think there's one more, Caleb said. The last compartment was the hardest to find. It took them 2 days. In the end, it was Hollis who found it, standing in the kitchen on the third morning, drinking coffee, looking up at the ceiling. He always overbuilt his ceilings, Hollis said. Always. Said a man should be able to walk on his roof. Caleb looked up. The kitchen ceiling had exposed beams, cedar, hand-fitted. One of them was slightly thicker than the others. Hollis grabbed a chair. Caleb climbed up. He ran his hand along the underside of the thick beam. Ah, Sim. He pressed. A panel dropped down. A single envelope fell into his hands. It was sealed. On the front, in Silas's handwriting, for when he comes. One more thing. He climbed down. Hollis and Caleb stood at the kitchen table. He opened it. Inside was a smaller envelope and a key, a modern key, stainless steel, with a tag that said Cedar Ridge Savings and Loan, Box 247, a safety deposit box. The smaller envelope had a note. Caleb, if your mother ever brings her husband to this door, bring this key with you. Open the box. You will know what to do. Silas, Caleb looked at Hollis. Hollis looked at Caleb. What's in the box? I don't know. But Silas knew something. He knew something we don't. That evening, just before sunset, the phone in Caleb's pocket buzzed. He pulled it out. Unknown number. A small voice. Female. 10 years old. Caleb. Wes. Buddy, where are you? I took Mom's phone. I had to lock the bathroom door. Are you okay? A long pause. Vance was drunk last night. He grabbed Mom's arm. He threw a plate. Caleb closed his eyes. Wes. Listen, are you safe right now? Tonight? He passed out on the couch. Okay. Buddy, listen to me. I am working on something. I am working as fast as I can. I am going to come back for you. A long pause. Caleb. Yeah, buddy. Mom doesn't get out of bed sometimes. For 2 days. She just stays in there. She's sick, buddy. Sick how? Sick in a way that medicine can fix. She just hasn't gotten the medicine yet. A silence. Caleb. Yes. I miss you. Caleb pressed his hand over his mouth. I miss you too. So much. Hide that phone number I gave you. And listen for the door. I am coming. He hung up. He looked at Hollis. He looked at the key on the kitchen table. He knew, Caleb said. Quiet. What? He knew Vance would come for the cabin one day. He knew it. That's why he hid that key. He knew. Hollis sat down. Then we go to the bank. Tomorrow, first thing, the next morning they drove to Cedar Ridge Savings and Loan, a small brick building, one teller, a bank manager who knew Silas by name. Hollis showed the key, showed his ID, showed Caleb's ID. The manager opened the vault. Box 247 was at the bottom row. Inside was a single brown accordion folder. They took it back to the cabin, opened it on the kitchen table. Inside were 3 things. 1. A photocopy of Vance Holloway's sworn statement from the custody case, the one where he had lied about Silas threatening him. 2. A typed document, a private investigator's report, dated 4 years ago. Silas had hired someone. The report tracked Vance Holloway's history, 2 previous marriages. Both ended after Vance came into money. One ex-wife had filed a police report alleging he had emptied a joint inheritance account before the divorce was final. 3. A handwritten letter from Silas's lawyer, Owen Driscoll, sealed. It said, Owen, if Vance Holloway ever sets foot on the cabin property after my death, this folder is to be made available to my grandson and to the relevant authorities. The PI report is admissible. The sworn statement was a felony. Perjury in a family court matter does not have a statute of limitations in this state. My grandson is not to spend a single hour in fear of this man. S.V. Caleb looked at Hollis. Hollis looked at the documents. Your grandfather, Hollis said, slow, hired a private investigator 4 years ago. He was building a case. Against Vance. Just in case. For the day Vance came to take what wasn't his, Caleb's hand went flat on the folder. He thought about Silas, sitting in the cabin, year after year, knowing his grandson was being raised by a man who was a liar, a man with a history, a man who had lied under oath to keep an old carpenter from his only grandchild. Silas had not been able to come down off the mountain, but he had been working the whole time. That afternoon, a silver sedan came up the road. Caleb heard it before he saw it. He stood up from the porch step. The sedan pulled in behind his Honda, stopped, engine running. The driver's door opened. Adeline stepped out. The passenger door stayed shut. Vance sat inside, looking at his phone. Adeline walked up the path, slow. She stopped at the bottom of the steps. She looked up at Caleb. We need to talk, she said, about your grandfather's property. Caleb stood on the porch. He looked down at his mother, the woman who had thrown him out 8 days ago with a garbage bag and $31. He did not move. He did not speak. The folder was in the kitchen. On the table, beside Hollis. Can I come up? Adeline said. How did you find me? The lawyer's office. They called the house, looking for my signature on something. She paused. I called your phone 4 times. You didn't answer. I deleted your number last week. She flinched. He had not meant it to land that hard. Or maybe he had. Come up, he said. She climbed the porch steps, slow. She looked at the railing, the new post, the fresh sanded wood. She ran her hand along it, did not say anything. He did not offer her the chair. He stayed standing. She sat down anyway, took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red, swollen. How long have you been here? A week. I didn't know this place existed. I know Silas left everything to you. He did. I should have been informed. You are not his next of kin. I'm not here to fight about the will. I'm here because you disappeared. Vance handed me a garbage bag. You stood at the sink. I left. She did not deny it. Your grandfather was not stable, Caleb. He had problems. He was sober for 15 years. How would you know that? He went inside, came back with a stack of returned letters. He set them on the porch railing, one by one. Each one stamped return, each one in her handwriting. She stared at them. Her face went white. You took the money he sent. It was for household. It was for me. She closed her eyes. Vance signed a sworn statement, Caleb said. When I was 6, he testified under oath that Silas threatened him. She did not answer. Did Silas ever threaten Vance? Silence. Mom, Vance felt threatened. That is not what I asked. She pressed her lips together, hard, until they went white. No, she said, Silas never threatened him. The car door opened below. Vance got out. He walked up the path, stopped at the bottom of the steps, crossed his arms. This has gone on long enough. Go back to the car, Vance. Don't talk to me like that, boy. This is a family matter. You are not my family. Vance's face went red. He took a step toward the stairs. Listen to me, you little... The front door of the cabin opened. Hollis stepped out, holding the accordion folder. Vance stopped, looked at Hollis, at the folder, at Caleb. The color drained out of his face, slow, like water out of a sink. Who are you? Hollis Whitlock. Silas's brother, Caleb's great-uncle. Silas didn't have a brother. He had a brother. We were estranged. I am not anymore. Hollis walked to the porch railing, set the folder down, beside the returned letters. He opened it. Mr. Holloway, Silas Whitlock hired a private investigator 4 years ago. This is the report. Vance's mouth opened. He found out about your first wife, Lucille Marshall, the one you met right after her father died, the one who lost $40,000 from her inheritance during the 6 months you were married to her. The police report she filed is in here. Adeline made a small sound, a breath cut in half. He also found out about your second wife, Patricia Bowen, the one whose grandmother died and left her a small farm. The one you tried to sell 3 months into the marriage while Patricia was at her mother's funeral 2 states away. She came home and stopped you. She filed for divorce 9 days later. Adeline's hand went to her mouth, and he found out about Adeline, Hollis said. Quiet. He met you 6 weeks before you proposed. You knew her husband was dead. You knew her father-in-law had a heart condition. You knew there was property in Cedar Ridge. He looked at Vance. You picked her on purpose, because she came with a cabin attached. Vance's eyes were darting. To Caleb, to Adeline, to the road. None of this is... Last fall, Hollis said, you went to the county clerk's office. You asked about the deed history on this property. You asked about the surveyed boundaries. You asked who would inherit if Silas died. That's not... It is. The clerk remembered you. She is a friend of Rosalind. She told us last week. Adeline turned to her husband, slow. Her face was a thing Caleb had never seen before. It was not anger. It was not even surprise. It was a woman waking up. Vance? Adeline, honey, he's making... Vance, did you marry me for a house? Of course not. Did you marry me for a house I had not yet inherited from a man you had never met? Adeline, look at me. He could not. She stood up, slow. The wooden chair creaked behind her. 11 years ago, you took me on 3 dates and proposed. I had a 4-year-old. My husband was dead. My father-in-law hated me, and you wanted to marry me. I thought it was romantic. I thought I was lucky. She stopped. Her hands went up, pressed against her mouth. I sat at our kitchen table the night you proposed, and I thought somebody loves me again. Somebody is going to take care of me again. She turned to Caleb. Her eyes were huge, wet. He married me to get to Silas. She turned back to Vance. You married me to get to my dead husband's father. Hollis closed the folder. There is something else, Mr. Holloway. The sworn statement you signed in the custody case. That was perjury. You testified under oath that Silas Whitlock threatened you. You had never met him. You did not even live with Adeline yet at the time of the alleged incident. The PI report has a copy of your lease. You did not move in until 8 months later. Vance's mouth worked. No sound. Perjury in a family court matter does not have a statute of limitations in this state. Silas's lawyer is named Owen Driscoll. He has been holding this folder for 4 years. Waiting. Hollis tucked the folder under his arm. You can leave, he said. Right now. Get back in your car. Drive home. You are welcome to call your own lawyer. Adeline is already calling hers. She has an appointment Monday morning with a divorce attorney in Stoneford. Rosalind made it for her this morning. While you were in the bathroom at the gas station 2 hours south of here, he looked at Vance steady. You are not going to fight this divorce, Mr. Holloway. You are going to sign whatever Adeline puts in front of you, and then you are going to disappear from her life, from her son's life, from the boy still living in your house. Because if you do not, this folder gets handed to the district attorney on Tuesday morning. Vance's hands were shaking. You can't... I can. A pause. Go home, Mr. Holloway. Pack what is yours. Be out of the house by the end of the week. The locks are being changed Friday. Vance looked at Adeline, looking for something to grab onto. Anything. She did not look back. He turned, walked down the path, got in the Sedan, back down the road, tires spitting gravel. He was gone. The three of them stood on the porch. Adeline, Caleb, Hollis. Nobody spoke for a long minute. Then Adeline sat down, hard, in the wooden chair. She put her face in her hands. She did not cry loud. She cried quiet. 11 years of quiet. They went inside. Hollis put the kettle on. Rosalind arrived 20 minutes later with biscuits she had baked that morning, like she had been waiting for the call. Maybe she had been. Adeline sat at the small table. She held a cup of tea in both hands, did not drink it, just held it. She looked at Caleb across the table. I have to tell you something, the truth, not the version I had been telling myself for 14 years. He waited. After Theo died, I was 24. I had a 3-year-old. I lost my husband and my mind in the same week. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. She paused. Silas came to the house 6 weeks after the funeral, drunk. He was drunk all the time then, pounding on the door, screaming. I had you in my arms. You were crying. He was crying. I was crying. Vance was there. He had been a friend of Theo's. Just a friend then. He called the police. That part is true. That part is true, but I want you to understand, I was already broken before Silas showed up that night. I had been broken for 6 weeks. She looked at her tea. I went to a doctor when you were 5. I told him I couldn't get out of bed some days. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't be a mother to you. He said I had clinical depression. He said I needed medication and therapy. Her voice was very quiet. Vance told me I didn't. He said the doctor was a quack. He said all I needed was to go to church and pray. He tore up the prescription. He told me I was weak. That Theo would be ashamed of me for needing pills. Caleb's hand went flat on the table. For 13 years, Adeline said. I believed him. Mom, I believed I was just weak, that if I prayed harder, I'd be okay, that if I cooked dinner on time and kept the house clean and didn't make trouble, Vance wouldn't yell, wouldn't drink, wouldn't. She stopped. Wouldn't what? She did not answer. Wouldn't what, Mom? A long pause. Wouldn't hit me. The room went still. Not often. Once a year, twice. Always after drinking. Always afterwards. He was so sorry. He would cry. He would buy me flowers. He would say it would never happen again. And I believed him. Every time Caleb closed his eyes. And Wesley, never. He pushed him once. I told him if he ever did it again, I would leave. And me. She looked up at him. He hit you twice. Once when you were 9. Once when you were 13. I never said anything. I told myself you were a hard kid, that you needed discipline. I told myself 1,000 lies. Caleb's hands were trembling. He remembered both times. He had told himself he had deserved them. He had told himself he had been mouthy. He had told himself 1,000 lies too. I'm sorry, Adeline said. That is not enough. I know you took the letters. Yes. You took the money. Yes. You let him sign that sworn statement. Yes. You told me my grandfather was dead. Yes. She wiped her face. I was so scared, Caleb. So scared of being a single mother again, of losing the house. Vance was a roof. He was a paycheck. He was somebody. He was awful. But he was someone. And I had been drowning since Theo died, and he was the thing I grabbed onto. She looked at him. I want you to know something about why I couldn't look at you. Tell me. You have his eyes. Exactly. The way you tilt your head when you're thinking. The way you go quiet when you are angry. The way you walk. Every time I looked at you, I saw Theo. And every time I saw Theo, I remembered that I had lost him. She pressed her hand against her mouth. I could not bear it. So I stopped looking. I stopped seeing you. I made you small in my mind. I made you a chore. And I let Vance take care of the rest. Caleb sat across from her, 18 years old, a boy who had grown up believing his mother could not love him because of something wrong with him, hearing now, for the first time, that his mother could not love him because she had never recovered from loving his father too much. He did not forgive her. Not in that moment, but something shifted. a small, hard thing that had been lodged in his chest since the morning Vance dropped the garbage bag. It did not dissolve. It just moved a little, to make room. Hollis stood up, refilled the tea. Rosalind cut more biscuits. Then Caleb spoke. Mom. Yes. Wesley called me yesterday. Her face went white. He took your phone, he locked himself in the bathroom, he told me everything. She closed her eyes. I am bringing him here to live with me. Her hand flew to her mouth. I am not asking permission. I am telling you, he is 10. He is living in a house with a man who is going to get worse before he gets better. Caleb, he is my brother. I promised him I would come back. I am keeping that promise. She was crying again. I want to come too, she said. He looked at her. Not to live in the cabin, not in your space. You don't owe me that. But I want to be near. She looked at Rosalind, at Hollis, at Caleb. I want to leave Vance. I want to get a doctor, a real one. I want to take the medication I should have taken 13 years ago. I want to be a mother to Wesley, to you, to whoever will let me. She took a breath. I am not asking you to trust me or forgive me. I am asking for a chance, just a chance, to be small and nearby and to try. Rosalind took Adeline back to the room above the store that night. Hollis stayed at the cabin, slept on the couch. Caleb lay in his bedroom. He stared at the cedar ceiling. He thought about his mother saying, I want to be a mother to Wesley. He thought about Wesley, 10 years old, hiding in a bathroom with a stolen phone. He thought about Silas, hiring a private investigator 4 years ago, hiding a key in a ceiling beam. His grandfather had been protecting him from the grave. His grandfather had been protecting him before he was even born. He fell asleep around 4 in the morning. 3 days later, Hollis drove down the mountain with Caleb to Ohio to get Wesley. The locksmith had been to the house Friday morning. Adeline had a court order in hand. Vance had cleared out his things on Wednesday, without a fight, just like Hollis had said. Caleb knocked on the front door of the house he had been thrown out of 9 days ago. A small voice on the other side. Caleb? Wes, it's me. Open the door, buddy. The door flew open. Wesley flung himself at Caleb, pajamas with dinosaurs. Same ones from 9 days ago. He had not changed. Caleb knelt down, held him. Hey, buddy, you came back. I told you I would. You promised. I promised. Wesley pulled back, looked at Caleb's face like he was checking it was really him. Where are we going? To a house in the woods? Mom, she's there, waiting. She's coming with us. But not to live in the woods. She's getting her own apartment near the woods so she can get better. Wesley nodded. Serious. Like an old man. Okay. He packed his own bag. 3 things Caleb did not expect. His school backpack, a stuffed dinosaur named Carl, and the photograph of Theo from Caleb's old nightstand. I took it after you left, Wesley said. Quiet. I'm sorry. I didn't want to lose all of you. Caleb pulled him in again. You did not lose me. You will never lose me. You hear me, Wes? Yes. Say it back. I will never lose you. The drive back to Cedar Ridge was 5 hours. Wesley fell asleep after 20 minutes. Hollis drove. Caleb sat in the passenger seat. The 18-year-old mountain bike was strapped to the roof. They got to the cabin at sunset. Adeline was on the porch. Wesley woke up, rubbed his eyes, sat up. He saw his mother. His face opened. He climbed out of the truck and ran to her. She fell to her knees in the gravel, held him. She was sobbing. He was crying. Caleb stood by the truck. Hollis stood beside him. You did good, son, Hollis said. I just brought him home. You did more than that. 5 months later, the cabin had curtains. White cotton with a thin blue stripe. Wesley had picked the fabric. Wesley had his own room, the bedroom Caleb had been sleeping in. Caleb had built a loft bed up in the rafters of the living room with Hollis's help, the first thing he had ever built that he was proud of. The porch was finished, stained, solid. Out back, a garden, tomatoes, beans, peppers. Wesley watered it every evening. Adeline had an apartment in Stoneford, 20 miles south, a two-bedroom on the ground floor of a brick building. She worked at the hospital, nurse's aide, $12 an hour. She took medication every morning. She saw a therapist every Wednesday at 4. Wesley spent every other weekend with her. The divorce was final in August. Vance had signed everything, disappeared to Texas. Nobody knew exactly where. Nobody asked. Hollis came over for dinner on Sundays, brought stew, stories about Silas, about Theo, about what it was like to be a boy in these mountains in the 1960s. Caleb had enrolled in the community college 20 miles east, carpentry program, 2 classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. His instructor was a retired contractor named Dean, 40 years on the job, said to Caleb in the second week, "You don't fight the wood. What most beginners push too hard. You let it tell you where to go. My grandfather built a cabin. I sleep in it. You're Silas Whitlock's boy." "Yes, sir." "He built my mother's kitchen, 1984. Cabinet still good as new. He was the best in the county." "I know. You got his hands." On a Saturday morning in late summer, Caleb was working behind the counter at Roseland's store, restocking. The bell over the door rang. A girl walked in, 16, thin jacket, backpack over one shoulder, hair pulled back tight. She stood inside the door, scanned the room, the way someone scans a room when they're not sure if they're welcome. He recognized it. He had been that posture. 9 months ago, she walked to the back, stopped in front of the sandwich cooler, looked at the prices, looked at the change in her hand. She closed her hand over the change, slid it back in her pocket, turned to leave. "Hey," Caleb said. She stopped. "You want a sandwich?" "I don't have enough." "I didn't ask if you had enough. I asked if you wanted one." She turned, did not say anything. He pulled a turkey sandwich from the cooler, water, chips, rang him up, paid with his own money. "Here. You can sit. Take your time." She walked to the wooden stool by the window. Saturday, she ate slow, did not look up. When she finished, she walked to the counter. "Thank you. You're welcome." He pulled a piece of paper from the pad, wrote a number. "If you ever need a place to stay, a few nights, call this. My name's Caleb. I live in a cabin up the road. There's a couch. There's a brother who will talk your ear off. You'd be safe." She took the paper, looked at him. Why? He thought about the trucker at the Walmart, the half sandwich. He thought about Rosalind behind the counter, wordless, wise. He thought about Silas in the shed, pushing a bicycle in, adding it to the row, year after year. "Because somebody did it for me," he said. The girl folded the paper, slid it into her pocket. "What's your name?" "Juniper. Most people call me June." She walked to the door. The bell rang. She walked out. Rosalind came up beside him. They watched her cross the parking lot. "Silas would have done the same thing," Rosalind said. "I know." That evening, Caleb sat on the porch in the rocking chair. Wesley sat on the porch steps, holding a piece of pine, trying to use the hand plane, Silas's old one. The blade slipping, Wesley pressing too hard. "It won't cut. Don't push it down. Let it sit on the wood, push it forward, even. Don't drive it down." Wesley tried. The plane caught. A thin shaving curled up, pale, clean. Wesley laughed, out loud. "It worked?" "Yeah, buddy, it worked." "Who taught you this?" Caleb looked at the carved trim above the doorway. At the porch his grandfather had built 15 years before he was old enough to use it. "A man I never met. He left it for me, in the walls of this house." "Will you show me?" "Tomorrow. I will show you tomorrow." Hollis's truck came up the road. Sunday dinner. "Stew," he called. "And don't ask whose recipe." Wesley ran to him. "I made shavings." "That is exactly what your grandfather used to say. Let the wood tell you where to go. He told me when I was your age." The phone in Caleb's pocket buzzed. Unknown number. He picked up a small voice, female, 16. Is this Caleb? Yes. This is June. From the store this morning. I'm at a gas station, 4 miles outside town. I don't have anywhere to go tonight. June. Yeah. What's the cross street? Route 4 and County Line. I will be there in 15 minutes. Stay inside, get a hot chocolate. I will pay for it when I get there. Okay. June. Yeah. You are not alone. A pause. A small breath, like someone setting down a weight. Okay. Caleb stood up. He looked at Hollis, at Wesley. Go, Hollis said. I'll feed him. We'll save you a bowl. Caleb grabbed his keys, his jacket. He stopped at the door, turned, looked back. The music box on the porch railing. The pile of pine shavings at Wesley's feet. The lights coming on inside the cabin. A house his grandfather had built with his own 2 hands. A house that had been waiting 15 years. A house that was now full. He drove down the mountain. He pulled into the gas station. He could see her through the window, sitting at a little table in the corner, both hands wrapped around a paper cup, backpack on the chair beside her. She looked up. She saw him. Her shoulders dropped, just a little. He walked inside. He walked to her table. Hi, June. He Caleb. Are you ready to go home? She looked at him. Her eyes were very tired and very young. Yes, she said. Okay, then. He picked up her backpack. She picked up the cup. They walked out together into the cool night air toward a cabin in the woods that a man named Silas Whitlock had built 15 years before this moment, without ever knowing exactly who would walk through the door, but knowing, with everything he had, that someone would end